Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action. Today, since we're still in the middle of Depthcember, we're doing an incredibly spicy Dark Depths brew today. We are playing Mono White Dark Depths. That's right, Mono White Dark Depths. Now this isn't a deck, but I've thrown something together that I think might actually be alright. So let's see what we're trying to achieve here. So we have Dark Depths and Thespian Stage, which is a pretty straightforward combo that lets you get 20/20, and we've got 8 soul lands, so any of these lands plus these two will give us enough mana to make the guy on turn 3. So that's relatively straightforward, but then everything else in this deck is a little bit wild. The other card we're trying to pair with Dark Depths is Solemnity. Players can't get counters, counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. So if you have this in play, and then you play Dark Depths, it immediately turns itself into a 20/20. So that's pretty cool in my opinion. So what we're going to be doing with this is trying to ramp out early using our soul lands. So we've got 8 soul lands and we've got a load of petals and Mox Diamonds. So we're going to try and make turn 1 Solemnity and then just play our Dark Depths for turn 2 20/20. Now that's not the only thing we're doing with Solemnity. We also have Phyrexian Unlife. So this says you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. As long as you have 0 or less life, all damage is dealt to you as though it has infect. So you get poison counters. But if we have Solemnity in play, we can't get counters. So the combo of Phyrexian Unlife and Solemnity basically makes you invulnerable. And some decks, notably the mono white initiative decks, don't have a lot of answers for enchantments. In fact, the answers they're using for non-creature permanents tend to be things like Touch the Spirit Realm, which is artifacts and creatures, but doesn't actually impact enchantments. So this is kind of like a blind spot on the initiative deck. Now, some initiative players are starting to experiment with March of Otherworldly Light, which could unstick us a little bit. But a lot of them, if you just assemble these 2 cards, that's it, they can't beat you. We can't lose life, and we can't take damage, so I think we'll be alright against a one of those sorts of decks with all the initiative things. That's the plan, at least. We've got another thing that goes with Solemnity quite nicely as well, which is Glacial Chasm. So this has cumulative upkeep, so you put a counter on it, then you pay 2 life for each counter on it. But if you've got Solemnity in play, you never have to pay the cumulative upkeep, because it's always going to have 0 counters on it. So this just does its thing. And you can just leave it in play for as long as you want, and then sacrifice it whenever you want to. So that should hopefully be pretty cool. And we've got a few other little things to go find land-wise, but let me explain why we've got these singletons. So we are playing a card called Weathered Wayfarer. This is a 1 mana 1/1 with white tap, search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So it's Sylvan Scrying for 1 white mana on tap. But you can only activate if your opponent has more lands than you. This is why we have a bunch of these artifact lands, so some of our mana won't be from lands anyway. We have a Glacial Chasm, which lets us sacrifice lands, and we have this City of Traitors, which disappears itself, and we're also running 2 Path to Exile as our removal instead of Swords to Plowshares. Now, the reason we're running this, obviously Swords to Plowshares is a better card, but our aim is to hit our opponent for 20 damage. Now, if we give our opponent a little bit of life, they might be above 20, so it might take more than 1 hit. And if we have this Path to Exile, it kind of does the same thing, lets us just bash them for 20 and win, but also gives them slightly more land to pump our Weathered Wayfarer. That's just good deck builder, right? Surely. So that's kind of a thing we're doing. We also have a couple of Pithing Needles for Wasteland, and we've got some more in the sideboard if we need them. Ghost Quarter as well. Because we're going to be naming Wasteland, Ghost Quarter is good, but this also gives them another land, so it means our Weathered Wayfarer is probably going to be online as well. We also got 4 Mother of Runes to help push through our Dark Depths. Now there's a real consideration as to whether you run Mother of Runes or Giver of Runes. Mother of Runes can protect itself, but can't give protection from Colorless. Giver of Runes can't protect itself, but can give the creature you're targeting protection from Colorless, which is really relevant in the world of Karakas. So maybe if this deck goes okay, there might be an experimental version with some Giver of Runes in here as well, to see if that's good to protect from Karakas and Ottawa and things like that. We've got these 3 Enlightened Tutors to help tie the room together, because we're not trying to leverage too much card advantage, we're just trying to assemble either combo, either a 20/20 or make us invulnerable. And Enlightened Tutor finds the Solemnity, which helps both, and it can find Phyrexian Unlife. And we've also got a few other things it can find. So we've got 1 Oblivion Ring, just because sometimes we might have a weird permanent we need to get rid of, so we might as well get this. The Enlightened Tutor can also find us a Pithing Needle. So there's actually quite a lot of synergy, and I think this deck, even though it's, you know, a very much a first draft that I've not even really play tested at all, I've just sort of theory crafted it in a little bit of my spare time. I think this deck is okay. We're going to have to mulligan quite a lot, because we're trying to cast a 3-drop on turn 1 a lot of the times, but sometimes we'll be playing like turn 1 Mother of Runes and then turn 2 doing other stuff. But I think we should be, I don't think we're going to go 0-5. We could do though, but I think we're going to get some wins on the board today. At least that's the plan. So that's the main deck. And we've got Snow Cover Plains because, you know, it's Depthcember, it's Christmas time, why not? Then we're going to look to sideboard. So we've got 2 more Paths to Exile in case we're facing some aggressive decks and we need to put in a bit of paths in there to keep ourselves alive. It's pretty self-explanatory. 1 Rest in Peace because we're running 3 Enlightened Tutor. We can go and find it. Another Oblivion Ring in case we're playing against like a control-y deck or something like that where they've got some different permanents that we need to deal with later on. 1 Moat. Now this is quite the haymaker against some decks. So again, the initiative deck is going to really struggle to beat around a Moat. Some of them are running the Elite Spellbinder, which is a 3/1 flyer, but a lot of them just have no flyers. So this can just be a hard lock on the game. And if they're not running the new March of Otherworldly Light, which very few are at the moment, then they might just be stone cold dead to Moat. So hopefully we can pick up some Moat wins. We also have 4 Mindbreak Trap because, as you can imagine, our deck is very cold to Storm, and this just is the best turn 0 interaction with Storm that we can get. So I wanted some of those in. 2 more Pithing Needles if we're playing against Delver or lands or any wasteland heavy strategy, because we're going to need to get our creature. I'm going to need to get our 2020 to win. We can't really win without our 2020, so we're going to need these. And we've got 3 Not of This World. So when our keeping ourselves alive combo isn't very good, which is, you know, some of the control decks that can Prismatic Ending these away, and they're not really pressuring our life totals, so being indestructible doesn't really matter. They're just going to accrue enough cards that they can eventually beat through it. Like when they have removal, they can just get us. We're going to be boarding into a little bit more protection in the form of Not of This World to try and keep our 2020 alive and play around their hate pieces. And we have 1 Surgical Extraction because there was 1 more slot in the deck, and I felt like having 1 more piece of Graveyard Hate couldn't hurt. I suspect we're pretty bad against the Graveyard decks. But, you know, we're going to see how we do. Hopefully we're going to be good against the initiative. And we've got some decent stuff to board in as well. So we can board in these 3 cards against the initiative and really sort of hammer things home. Hopefully. So that's pretty much this deck. As you can see, it's a bit of a brew and a bit of a wild one. But I hope it's going to be fun. So before we jump into a league, why not subscribe if you like watching this sort of nonsense and fun. My account is making 5 legacy videos a week. So if you want to watch my videos, subscribe, you don't miss any, and it really helps me out. Likes and comments also very welcome. Okay, let's jump into a Legacy League with mono white depths. We're on the play for round 1, and we can become invulnerable as early as turn 3. So I think this has got to be a keeper, right? We lead out on with the Wayfarer, and then we play out the Phyrexian Unlife, and then the Solemnity. Or maybe the other way around, depending on how things transpire. And we've got half our combo and something that can find the other half. So this seems like a keep to me. Our opponent is not on Yorion. They've mulliganed to 6 cards. Hopefully they are just looking for a decent hand. They're not like a combo deck trying to find the thing that just wins them the game immediately. Because we're going to be pretty weak to a lot of combo decks. Okay, our opponent gets 6. So we're going to start out with a Snow-Covered Plains and a Weathered Wayfarer. Not exactly a legacy staple, and our opponent's probably going to have to read it. But hopefully we can untap into doing some pretty unfair things. We can always throw down a Glacial Chasm pretty soon as well, if needs be. See what our opponent has here. An Underground Sea. Usually a card for unfair decks. So one of the things that we can't really beat is Doomsday. So if our opponent is a Doomsday deck, I think we're in trouble. Okay, so that's a Doomsday. So this stops us from losing the game for having 0 or less life, but we can still lose the game for our opponent casting a spell that says you win the game on it. So we're going to have a bit of difficulty in this matchup, I'm afraid. I think this hand just stone cold beats initiative though every time, so that's nice to know. Okay, our opponent's finished making their pile, so I'm just going to have a little look. So they've got Baleful Strix in there. They've got Teferi, a Limdal's Vault, Prismatic Ending, another Baleful Strix. So they're not going big, but they've got a little bit of white interaction there. It's good to know. They're not killing us this turn, but they're probably going to kill us on the next turn. And there's not really much we can do about this one. So we're unlikely... I think we have to attack with our Weathered Wayfarer. I think we just attack with this. And we'll play out the Solemnity. And this will... not really do an awful lot, but it means if we draw Dark Depths, at least we get 20/20, but I have to imagine our opponent with 3 cards in hand and 2 mana available at the start of their turn is just going to kill us this turn. They just need to get through only like two cards of their library necessarily, depending on how they stacked it. A Predict. Okay. Street Wraith. And if they've got the second blue source, they're just going to probably... oh, they're just doing an Unearth line instead. Okay, sure. That'll do us. So our invulnerability combo, this is one of the things that doesn't actually get impacted by it, which is pretty bad news for us, truth be told. Our life total is never going to be under pressure this game, so we don't need these Phyrexian Unlifes. Pithing Needles can hit some of their creatures. Surgical Extraction does have some text on it. We can board in a Mindbreak Trap, or we can board in Not of This World. I don't think Not of This World is going to be that useful though. Mindbreak Trap can be okay, but generally the Doomsday players can play around it without... Well, they usually play around it anyway. They don't even have to try. But we've got one more slot that we can have here. Maybe we're looking at an Oblivion Ring, just in case they have a Teferi or some other line like that. We want to be able to remove their thing. This is, Path to Exile is May search, so it doesn't force a search on their library either. So I guess the O-Ring is fine. It can hit like a Lotus Petal there, depending on like where they pass a Lotus Petal that turn. So I guess this is about the best we're doing. This matchup looks pretty bad for us, I won't lie. So what does this hand do? It has a Pithing Needle, but it doesn't really get us close to our combo. I think we should just mulligan. We need to try and assemble a 2020 as quickly as possible. I don't think this really does a great deal. So we mulligan again. Yikes, this one doesn't really have any mana in it. Do we get a 4? I think we have to. Still no mana. I don't think we're getting any better at 3, but maybe we are. We just need a little bit of mana for this hand, but we're going to be slow. We're going to be very slow here. So what will we be keeping? We'd probably be keeping Solemnity. The Weathered Wayfarer can be okay here, but not necessarily. We're probably keeping the Surgical Extraction. We're probably keeping these 4. I think we can do better than that on a 3. It's not really better, but I think we have to keep it at this point. So we're going to keep a Solemnity. So we're going to have to get rid of Mox Diamonds. We can't afford to pay for those. Solemnity goes, and I think we have to get rid of a Pithing Needle here. I think this game is just over, unfortunately. So this is one of the decks that we pretty much decided that we would lose to with our build. It's very hard to overcome Doomsday with white decks that aren't just making loads of pressure. So Initiative is pretty good against Doomsday because it provides such a quick clock that they can't really Doomsday without getting killed. Okay, so we need to find one more land and a Dark Depths before our opponent kills us. Now, they might be on a slower draw here because they didn't Dark Ritual on turn 1. So this could be something like a Baleful Strix, since we saw them earlier. There it is. Sure. So this blocks them a turn. So this is actually pretty good for them. A Dark Depths. Okay, so we just need one more land. So if we can draw a Lotus Petal, that means we can play the Solemnity and make a 20/20 in the same turn. But we're close. Getting in the damage. We have a second Solemnity as well in case our opponent has a counterspell. An Enlightened Tutor. Doesn't seem very useful. We can get a Lotus Petal to guarantee the Solemnity next turn, which I think we probably have to do. But that gives our opponent a very easy counterspell target. They'll probably counter the Enlightened Tutor, I'd imagine. But we'll see. We'll see what we can get out of it. Maybe a single Ancient Den would be useful to have in this deck. I didn't really think about wanting to Enlightened Tutor for it, but I guess it can come up. A Dark Ritual, here we go. And a Doomsday. So once they've built their Doomsday pile, we can fire off this Enlightened Tutor, which is unlikely to help. They might just be killing us this turn, though. Such is the matchup. But we can have a look at their pile, and if there's no Cyclers in there, we can just get a Pithing Needle and name like Street Wraith and hope that that's good enough. So let's have a look at that pile here. Can't see any Street Wraiths. The Unearth isn't in that pile either. They have brought in a Monastery Mentor, though. Let's see what happens with this. So we can go and get a Pithing Needle. I think we are dead on the next turn, so I think we just have to Pithing Needle here. It's not good, but I think it's what we have to do. Can't see a single Street Wraith in here. Predict. Okay, so they're predicting me and getting rid of our... Yep, it's pretty bad. Sure. That draws our opponent through their pile as well. Okay, so we can play this guy out, and then our opponent will just kill us. Yep, this matchup feels borderline unwinnable, to be honest. Unless we can make like a turn 2 20/20, I don't think we even have a chance. Right, so the Edge of Autumn goes. They've got the blue. Sure. They've got no cards in their library. They're going to play the Thassa's Oracle and kill us. Sure. That matchup was just a horrible matchup. It's just one of those things that we hadn't prepared for. Like, we could have had Stony Silencers in for 8 cast and this, but obviously we do run our own artifacts. I'd rather not like to hose. Obviously, in this sort of draw, the Stony Silence would have mattered because it's just a little peripheral damage on their Lotus Petals, although it doesn't look like they've even got that many Lotus Petals. So, yeah, just a real horrible matchup. And it's amazing we even survived 5 turns, I think. But there we go. On to the next round. This is our opening hand. Our opponent is a 60-card deck, so not Yorion. I don't really like this hand. It doesn't really go anywhere. I think we can do better. So we can Weathered Wayfarer out, but we're going to need 2 turn cycles of Weathered Wayfaring. Get there. But we do have a little bit of interaction. I think we can probably just about keep this one. And we're probably looking to get rid of... not the easiest choice, actually. Probably a Lotus Petal. We'll see what our opponent looks to be playing as well. A Mox Diamond. Okay, so it's going to be a bit landsy, perhaps. a wasteland, and a Sylvan Library. Okay, so this could be some form of land or green-white depths type strategy. Now, fortunately for us, we're not actually going to play a land on our first turn. So that's all right. So I think we play this Mox Diamond out. And we have a choice here of what we're exiling. I think we're actually going to get rid of our City of Traitors here, because that's a liability at this point. And play white for Weathered Wayfarer. And we'll play out our Lotus Petal. And we can play out our Ghost Quarter. I don't mind that. We can always sacrifice it if we need to. And then while the ability's on the stack, we can use our Weathered Wayfarer. I think just having the land in play is going to be useful. So we can go and get Solemnity. And then we're still going to need land, though, is the issue. So I don't think we want to pop our Enlightened Tutor just yet. Because if we pop it now, we won't have the 3 mana next turn to do it. I guess we could pop it and then use this to go and find an Ancient Tomb. And then play our Ancient Tomb and then play the Solemnity. And the turn after, we can go and find the Dark Depths. That works. So our opponent not doing a huge amount of things over there. So do we want to do that now? Let's cast this. So if we get the Solemnity and put this on top. This also shut down opposing Heirs of Sagas, which isn't the worst. So I think this turn, I think we'll go and get ourselves another land. So what is the correct option for us here? Like, we could go and get the Dark Depths just so we have it. And then next turn we can... Yeah, this means if our guy gets removed and we draw a land, I think we're in a better spot. And one of the things we can do is we can Ghost Quarter our own land if we get one off of Weathered Wayfarer, like a soul land. And you get an Ancient Tomb, and then we can Ghost Quarter our own Ancient Tomb. And Endurance, that's not particularly scary for us. It does block for a turn, but we have the path to Exile to clear the way. I'm more worried about this wasteland on our opponent's side of the battlefield. But that's what the Ghost Quarter is ideally going to be for. So drawing another land would be nice. Okay, our opponent took another card off of the library. We have a Maze of Ith. That's going to be another one that's kind of annoying. This is definitely going to be a good matchup for the old Pithing Needles in our sideboard, though. A Shadow Spear. Okay. They're tapping out of it, are they? This could be an error on their part. If we draw a Lotus Petal, then we get to just make a 20/20. Lotus Petal? A Karakas. That's not a Lotus Petal, is it? So we can play out this and play out our Solemnity if we want to. And just have that down. Or we can go and get a like City of Traitors type thing. But we're kind of a little bit hemmed in on white sources. So I think we just play out the Solemnity this turn. And then we can get rid of the wasteland. And then how are we going to get rid of this Maze of Ith? We only have the one Weathered Wayfarer, unfortunately. So it might be a bit tricky getting rid of the Maze of Ith. But we'll work something out, I'm sure. We can draw one of our 2 Enlightened Tutors, and that'll help us out. We can also now go and get Glacial Chasm and just turtle up for ages, but they do have a wasteland, so that's something that won't be able to keep us alive for long. But it provides a good target, potentially. So this Urza Saga can't get counters and can't get abilities. So that's good for us. We're going to take another hit from this, which is going to put them up to 20, which is still 1 hit from the 2020 though. So that's alright. Okay, so they're just giving their guy pseudo-vigilance with the Maze of Ith. That's fine. Retrofit's Foundry. This can provide a stream of blockers. So the thing is, this will have a trigger on the stack, and then our opponent will get to wasteland us. So with our opponent only 1 card in hand, I think we're supposed to hold priority. So we've got 1, 2, 3 lands in play. We'll only have 1 land in play after this. We don't need to hold priority, do we? So we will hit this, which is probably then going to go after our Karakas. So then we will activate this. And we have a choice here of what we go and get. Now, none of our choices look great. I really wish we had a second Ghost Quarter. That would really help us out here, but alas, we do not. I think we go and get a Thespian stage here, and then we can use that later to copy a wasteland so we can get rid of their Maze of Ith, maybe. Maybe that's the way we're going to navigate this game. Play this. We can go and get ourselves a 20/20. Do we need to play out this Lotus Petal? I don't think it hurts to play this out. And then we have our 20/20 Indestructible. So we've made our guy. We do need to deal with what our opponent's putting down in terms of the Maze of Ith. But it's certainly within our capabilities to deal with it. We have the path to Exile for Endurance when the time comes. We can't get this Ghost Quarter back because we don't have any ways of rebuying things from our graveyard. So maybe we could have like a Serra Paragon in the list. Might help if you want to do that. So we're just Life from the Loam onto a Wasteland and an Ancient Tomb. Yeah, okay. So that's given us the Wasteland that we might be able to copy. Okay, so they've got Karakas as well, which is not so good. Not much we can do about that one. I guess we're just getting rid of the endurance now. Buying ourselves some time. We can go and get a 20/20 every turn, but the Karakas is just going to be a problem. So we need to find wastelands. We need to find... Like the Thespian stage can copy a thing, so it's not the end of the world. But we are in a bit of trouble here. So if we play out the stage here, we can hold this back to activate it and copy something if we need to. Our opponent does have a basic, so if they just try and wasteland our stage, we can copy their basic. Okay. I suspect they have Prismatic Ending in their deck, which will be able to remove our Phyrexian Unlife. So we're not going to be able to win the game that way. Our opponent has a 20/20 now. I see. That doesn't seem like it's going to be very helpful. Because I just go get my Karakas now. And then play this silly little game. Are they crop rotating it away, are they? I see. Into another Karakas. Into a wasteland on our Thespian stage. Sure. Alright. I think we're in a bit of trouble here. Another Solemnity isn't going to do it. So, let's go and find a land from our deck. We can go around 20/20, but we'll just get bounced. Our Karakas is in the graveyard, which is unfortunate. We can get a Glacial Chasm, but we don't have anything to sacrifice to it. I think we are just dead here, unfortunately. There's no point wasting our time. Let's just go to the next game. Again, not a matchup I was particularly happy for. I kind of want to play all these silly white initiative decks, not these Thassa's Oracle and Super Wasteland decks. So this can protect our guy. This is going to be good against Life from the Loam. The Rest in Peace obviously is a bit of a nombo with Surgical Extraction, but it's pretty good against Life from the Loam. We've got a couple of Path to Exiles which aren't the worst. How good is Phyrexian Life going to be in this matchup? Is a question to ask. I don't think it's going to be very good. I think we just need to make our guy quickly and hope that that's good. The Mother of Runes is fine. So these four for these four. And then how useful is an Oblivion Ring? I think having an Oblivion Ring in the deck is actually going to be good. We don't have a Bajuka Bog in our deck either. That's maybe another thing we could think about including. Let's have a think. We need to keep our Solemnities. Now they're a bit of a double-edged sword here, as is often the case in these mirror matchy type things where we both got similar strategies. Maybe the Oblivion Ring isn't going to be as good as just another Not of This World. And then we have to decide we want these. So Mother of Runes. Our opponent's probably... We didn't really see much in the way of white spells. But they did have a Karakas. So whether or not the Mother of Runes is going to be good here or not will remain to be seen. I think the way we win this game is just going relatively fast. So maybe we're boarding out a path for a Surgical here. Just so we can slow down our opponent's Wasteland train perhaps. I don't like it. This matchup, again, doesn't feel good. It's not one of the ones we want to see. Kind of built a deck that wanted to play against Initiative all day. So I don't think we can keep this because we can't play Solemnity out against our opponent because they can make a 20/20 off of it. So we need to play Solemnity at the right time. So I think we mulligan this one. We can not really do a lot with this either. Let's mulligan again. Yikes. We do get to stop Wasteland with this hand. We have an Enlightened Tutor. We have a Thespian stage. If our opponent has a thing, we're okay. I think we can keep this. I'm putting two of these on the bottom. I imagine it's probably just the two Lotus Petals because we don't really need to go that fast here. So I think we can start the game out. So we've got a Karakas to defend against our opponent's 20/20 as well. So this hand looks all right in that capacity. Play this out. Name Wasteland. And we're part way towards somewhere. A Windswept Heath. So it could be some white spells on our opponent's deck. Or it could just be that that's a green one. An Exploration. This is definitely looking a lot more like traditional red-green land, especially with the Tiger in play now. Okay. A Ghost Quarter. This will be useful later on down the line, so I'm happy about that. We've got a Ghost Quarter. Now, our Enlightened Tutor can't really find us anything too exciting. Maybe we should have had the Rest in Peace instead of the Surgical, because we can tutor for that. That would have made a little bit more sense. We can remove this Mox Diamond, a Tower of the Magistrate, and a Thespian stage here, and a Sylvan Library. Let's just check our sideboard. We can't really find anything exciting here. I think we're just... Okay, this is a good draw. We'll play out our Weathered Wayfarer. And we'll play out our City of Traitors, so we can manipulate the number of lands we have in play, but also it gives us a Thespian stage if we need it. So we can activate that and turn it into whatever. So next time we can go and get Dark Depths and make Dark Depths next turn. Thespian stage is copying my Karakas. Sure, we have the Ghost Quarter for that when the time comes. Sylvan Library. Sure. How many cards are they going to nab with this one? Probably quite a lot, I'd imagine. Their life total is getting hit in chunks of 20, so they might as well just tear through it. Okay, so I had a fetch land, so that's why I didn't just take them all. Okay, so now we can play out our Ghost Quarter. Now the only issue with playing out the Ghost Quarter here is that we kind of need to do it on the following turn, don't we, to get rid of this. I think what we're supposed to do is Enlightened Tutor for a Pithing Needle on Karakas in the near future. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand. They do have a library in play. Interesting. Because they have a basic, Ghost Quarter doesn't actually care about that for the purposes of thing, whereas if it was trying to wasteland a Karakas off, obviously the Pithing Needle there. Oh, this is tricky. I think we probably have to Enlighten Tutor for a Pithing Needle. But what we're going to do is we're going to, in our upkeep, we're going to do this, and then in our upkeep we're going to Enlighten Tutor for the Pithing Needle. I think that makes the most sense here. And then we can play the Dark Depths if we need to there. And we'll probably play out, let's try and work out if we actually play out the Dark Depths straight away. This turn, we're definitely Weathered Wayfaring for our combo piece. A Punishing Fire on our guy. Sure, that's fine. We don't care about that. We can buy it back, sure. We're going to get Dark Depths. So we can choose to tutor for it now, but we still won't have enough mana to do everything we want this turn. Interesting. I think we're tutoring in our upkeep here. So we're going to get ourselves a Pithing Needle. Then we're going to draw the Pithing Needle. And then we will... Now there's a question here of whether or not I do it this turn or not. Because if I hold up Thespian stage now, I can copy something if I need to in an emergency. If I cast this, then I can't do that. But next turn I can play this and the Dark Depths anyway, so there's no reason to do it now. So I think we can just hold up this way. And then next turn we can... I guess we could have done that in our opponent's end step instead, thinking about it. So you can play out the Ghost Quarter, but we lose our Thespian stage for that. You can play out the Dark Depths, but it doesn't tap for mana because our opponent hasn't provided us an Urborg or a Yavimaya to work with. Okay, our opponent did not take any bonus cards. That is interesting to me. A Knot of this World will be a great draw, just in case something bad happens to us. There it is. Okay, so this will name Karakas. So what our opponent could have done was copied something else with this, because this is also going to stop their Thespian stage copying something if they don't respond. So let's play this out. And play this out. Float 2 mana, like this. And keep this one. So we have a Knot of this World to keep our guy alive, which should hopefully be enough. And that's the reason why they're in the sideboard. So we can't get Karakas, we can't get Wastelanded. Beseiju on our Pithing Needle here. I think we can Knot of this World, this ability. Oh wait, no, it's only if the thing is targeted, isn't it? Yes, I'll get a land out. I'm probably going to bounce this in our end step, unfortunately. So we can counter this, but we don't get to keep our guy because they just untap and do it again. So that's a little bit frustrating for us. If we'd have gone down the Ghost Quarter line instead, we'd have been able to deal with this problem. So that's a pity. Our opponent still has to try and win the game at some stage, though. We are quite far behind now, though. A Shadow Spear. They need a creature for that to do anything, but I'm sure they'll get one in the near future. Back to us. A Mother of Runes. Okay, we'll play out our Mother of Runes. We'll play out our Ghost Quarter. Punching Fire on our Mother of Runes. Yep. All that's doing is buying us a reprieve from it going out our head. Because the Mother of Runes is never going to do anything, and we don't have any way of making cards in our hand do anything. So at least, so we might as well just play it out as a gain 2 spell at this point, because we're not really going anywhere. I suppose there's a very slight chance we could maybe spike a Surgical Extraction at the right time. So maybe we hold it in our hand for that. Life from Malone. Okay, I think this is probably going to beat us. There's Wasteland. Probably losing our Karakas here. Or they're just going to hold it. I guess there's no reason to do anything else. It's going to be difficult for us to win this game, but not impossible. This is certainly the start of possibly winning the game. This can become a basic land if needs be. We're just going to get Punishing Fire again. Beseiju on our Pithing Needle. Sure. Yes, we're going to get a land out of our deck. So we have the... Oh, they're just Thespian staging our... They're just wastelanding our Karakas, aren't they? That's interesting. I think we're just going to copy one of our planes, though, just so we're wasteland proof in future. So our opponent's going to try and grind us out of the game with wastelands now, and they're probably going to succeed. I think what we could have done earlier is we could have played a Pithing Needle on Beseiju and then gone for the slower Ghost Quarter line, but as soon as we play that Pithing Needle out, they're going to Beseiju the other Pithing Needle. While that's on the stack, I'd imagine. Well, I guess no, because they let it resolve, actually, didn't they? So, interesting. Minsk and Boo. Yep. Sure. This is going to end the game pretty quickly. I think we could just scoot this one up. I think we're just dead here. Yeah, trying to assemble Dark Depths. isn't really going to work in the face of the dedicated Wasteland strategy. The Wasteland Karakas strategy is going to be hard to beat. So we've got a little bit stiff with matchups so far, but it means we're statistically slightly less likely to find these matchups again, maybe, and we can actually play against some initiative. Right, we're on the draw for this game. Our hand is just all mana. I think we have to mulligan this one. This hand is one land away from making a 2020. I think we should probably keep that, and we can get rid of one of our many Dark Depths. So a Soul Land, of which we have 8, or a Lotus Petal, accelerates our clock. Our opponent's on a 60-card deck. Looks like it might be Delver. Sure. So Wastelands are going to be a problem for us, but they'll have less Wastelands than the previous matchup. Okay, so we can play this out. We can play this out on Wasteland. A 2020 is very hard for Delver players to answer. So they have one Brazen Borrower in the main deck, and then post-board they sometimes have a second. You sometimes find a Submerge as well, but we're getting bashed for 3 this turn. We are getting bashed for 3, but that's fine. The Solemnity combo should also be pretty good against them because they don't really have ways of removing enchantments. They've got lots of hate for artifacts, but not enchantments, which is kind of what this deck wanted to really prey on. People not having hate for enchantments. Okay, so we'll play this out and we'll play a Mother of Runes around a Daze. And we need to draw another mana source in our mostly mana source deck. And then we are off to the races with a 2020. Hopefully it won't be a Mox Diamond, so we can play out. Yeah, we knew they had a Lightning Bolt in hand, so we saw it for Delver. But that's a Lightning Bolt not going to our face. And the way we lose this game, I think, is if we just never hit a land, or if our opponent can somehow race us by going around our Dark Depths. Opponent not having a second land is pretty good for us. Doesn't mean they got a lot of spells. So Solemnity might prove difficult to resolve. But if this Solemnity doesn't resolve, we can then Dark Depths anyway next turn because of the Thespian stage. So you've kind of got it coming and going. My opponent is reading this and trying to work out what the heck is going on. They should fire off a counter spell on it, I think. If you don't know what the thing is, you counter it. Okay, they pitched a Daze. Sure. So next time we make a 2020 and our opponent shouldn't be able to answer it. It's not impossible that they answer it. They do have the one Brazen Borrower. But at the moment, they don't seem to have a second land. So this will do just nicely for us. Our opponent could just have Wastelands in hand that they're keeping in hand for purposes of Brainstorm. Let's play this one out and pass the turn. Can my opponent deal with a 2020? We've got the Wastelands covered. Am I incentivized just to make the 2020 here and kill their guy? I think I am. Oh, they got Stifle. I see. Interesting. So it might be like old school Rug Delver. It's an additional wrinkle to worry about. Well, this turn is just going to be the same as the last turn. So because we know about the Stifle, we're just going to make the 2020 now. We don't want to get another turn cycle going. They can Brazen Borrower it, sure. And that will be annoying. But that's one card. And the Rug builds tend not to run it, so... Okay, so I need to find a second land and a Brazen Borrower. Now, they do have a chump blocker for a turn as well in the Insectile Aberration. Makes me think my opponent probably had an additional Stifle in their hand as well, the way that they weren't playing any spells. Is this a Brazen Borrower? Or is this cracking to do some more digging? A Tarmogoyf. Okay, so they got a chump block for a turn and then hope that the Tarmogoyf gets there. I see. Interesting. So we can still lose this to the race, as I mentioned before. Solemnity doesn't really give us any aid here, does it? What we can do is we can play our Mother of Runes to chump block, and we can play out, and we can attack with our Marit Lage, then we'll play out another Mother of Runes to follow it up with. So because we have the Solemnity, we kind of don't want to play these Dark Depths out yet. So we draw another land, and for some reason we have to rebuy our 2020. That's the thing we can do. Alright, Mother of Runes. Got 2 mums in play. Let's see if that's good enough. Okay, so have a Daze there. Will not pay. So now we are chump blocking with our Mother of Runes here, so we don't die to double bolt. They have the bounce spell, they can do it now before our Mother of Runes untaps anyway. So the only thing that we can play around is the burn spells to the face. Now if we can block the Tarmogoyf, then we don't have to worry about it. Chain Lightning. This is on our face. Okay. We're always blocking here. It is lethal now as well because of the sorcery. Alright. Okay, so we got a win on the board. I'll take that. So, what do we want for this matchup? Removal spells will be good. Pithing Needles against Wasteland will be good. I don't think we need to play Not of This World. The Moat seems pretty lackluster, but the Rest in Peace is probably going to be good. The Phyrexian Life combo is probably going to be actually decent here. So I'm certainly a fan of keeping that in. Probably trim one of our Oblivion Rings, which gives us probably the Rest in Peace. And then we won't need the Karakas in this matchup, I don't think. So we can get that out for a Pithing Needle. And then the only things we can really trim here is some of our combo, one of our combos at least, or some of our tutors. Do we have time to tutor things? I think the Weathered Wayfarer might prove to be a little bit difficult to use. It's in, we'll trim a mother for a path, since we don't need the mother that much to protect our 2020. And then, so we've got 3 Weathered Wayfarers, 3 Mother of Runes, 3 Enlightened Tutors. The Glacial Chasm is going to be fine as well. Maybe it's the mother, just to keep ourselves alive is all we need. Right, let's try like this. And keep this. This makes us a 2020, and we have a little bit of removal. Like, we need to draw the Dark Depths, obviously. So maybe we should be mulliganing harder to Dark Depths, but we do have removal to interact with our opponent. We don't really need to remove a Delver on turn 1, though. Rest in Peace is a very good one. I don't think we play out the Rest in Peace this turn. I think maybe we see what our opponent deploys next turn and then point our path at something and then Rest in Peace, perhaps. That might be a stronger option, because we can shut off their Murktide and their Tarmogoyf with it. I have to assume that they are playing Murktides. We'll take the 3 here. This also means we're relatively close to Phyrexian Life if we can find one of those. And another Delver. I think we'll just pass this guy now. We did let it get 3 damage in, but... Oh, they're forcing that. Interesting. What have we got here? Phyrexian Unlife. That's a pretty good one if we can get it to stick. So I think we are hitting ourselves with Ancient Tomb this turn. Our opponent's got 2 cards in hand and we're playing around a Daze. We did Force of Will this in the first game, so... Alright. So next turn we are playing Phyrexian Unlife, and hopefully that will be good. And then we just need to survive for a bit, and we can Rest in Peace to make the Tarmogoyfs and Murktides worse, but obviously these guys are going to just be killing us anyway. They didn't flip the Delver, which is nice. What have we got this turn? Another Ancient Tomb. Really wants me to take some damage, doesn't it? Opponent's 3 cards in hand. I think we are supposed to play out the Phyrexian Unlife first. We can play around Spell Pierce this way. Some of these decks do run. Can I have my Phyrexian Unlife, please? If this sticks, I'll play out the Rest in Peace as well. This might get a counter spell, like a Daze if they have one. Okay, so my Rest in Peace resolved. They have no graveyards. I have no graveyards. I am invulnerable as long as they don't bounce my Phyrexian Unlife or my Solemnity, which is something they can definitely do. We didn't play a Wastelands. If we draw the Dark Depths this turn, we can just make a 2020. Let's see what we find. Another Phyrexian Unlife. I don't really want to play out a second Phyrexian Unlife, do I? I guess it does buy me another turn, but it costs me an Ancient Tomb activation is the issue. I think we still play it out. Reason being, if they can bounce 1 Phyrexian Unlife, fine. But they're unlikely to be able to bounce 2. This means even if I do go to 0 life, I won't lose the game on the bounce. So it gives me basically a buffer of 10 life if they manage to bounce one of them. We can always Ghost Quarter one of our white sources, one of our Ancient Tombs into a white source if we need to, but I don't think that's something that's necessary. Our opponent's Delver is incredibly poor at flipping. Here goes nothing. So we are now at 0 life, or -1 life in fact. Alright, let's just play out another Solemnity, just double up on all our pieces. We're in for the long haul, I think. Is our Delver going to flip this turn? It is! They have a Force of Will, which I bet they wish they had earlier. So we're going to take 0 damage this turn, and we're not going to get any poison either. A Pithing Needle. What does Pithing Needle do for us here? Let's have a quick think. Is there anything that I can name with Pithing Needle? I can name the fetch land. I can name Minsk and Boo. Let's name Minsk and Boo. Let's do that. This might get counterspelled. This means that they won't be able to draw cards with a Minsk and Boo very easily if they have it. So we're very much just passing the turn every time here. Our clock is slightly better. Okay, so we got the win with the Phyrexian Life combo. So we're not very good against the Doomsday or the lands, but we seem alright against Delver, maybe. Alright, cool. We're on the board. We're into the 4th round. We've got 2 spells that don't really do a lot on their own, so we should be mulliganing. This is a hand I can get behind. We'll keep this, and we get to bin one of our cards off. We're probably going to bin off the excess Mother here. So because we're on the play, the way of the Wayfarer won't do anything on the second turn anyway, so we're playing out Mother of Runes first. Unless we wanted to play it off of a Lotus Petal. A Tundra. So this could be like a slow control deck usually. A Source to Plowshares. With art that I've not seen before. Sure. So now we are playing out our little guy. Should have played the Lotus Petal first in case of Daze. I just assumed they wouldn't have Daze because they're a Tundra deck. But they could have been like a Stoneforge deck that sometimes runs Daze. Or like a Breakfast deck. So if our Weathered Wayfarer survives... Okay, we're looking at Bant here. Stoneforge Mystics. They do have a Mystic. It's going to get Cauldron or Jitte, I would assume. Umazawa's Jitte, sure, it's fine. We have a Thespian stage. If we play out our Dark Depths, that doesn't really achieve anything for us. So we hold up the Thespian stage in case there's some sort of wasteland shenanigans from our opponent. We can then copy the plains. Otherwise, we'll just Weathered Wayfarer for some value whilst we still can. If our opponent plays a land, that is, which they did. A Noble Hierarch. Okay, so this is like Bant Maverick. That's sort of the vibe I'm getting. Right, let's get a free card. I think we get another Dark Depths here, just in case we draw like a Solemnity or something down the line. Okay, City of Traitors. That's quite a good one for later on. Play this out. So we have a 2020 available to us. It will cost us our Lotus Petal though, which I was kind of hoping to keep around, but it's worth it for a 2020. Our opponent cracking it end of turn, which is weird to me. It's weird timing to do that. Okay, no, because not weird timing at all, is it? They're just making a Jitte. Sure. Not sure the Jitte is where you really want to be though, but I guess they were kind of locked into that play. I figured more, it's like they cast a filter spell this turn, like a Ponder or a Brainstorm. Okay, they're just going straight for the Jitte here. I see. Our opponent hasn't made a land yet, so they could have a Karakas. I think I'm just going to make this now. Right, if we gain 20 life, we gain 20 life, right? But we might... I have to assume that this isn't going to be killing the Stoneforge Mystic. Yeah, okay. So we gain 20 life. So we just need a Solemnity, and we're all good. This is going to get killed by the triggers on that anyway, so we may as well let it go. We can block here and leave them with 2 triggers. It's a case of, do I want them to have 2 counters on their thing or not? I think my life total is better to take the hit rather than leaving them with an additional counter there. Snow-covered plains. Sure. So we can play out a Solemnity if we draw it and our Phyrexian Unlife combo. Now our opponent is certainly going to have Prismatic Ending in their deck. Now they can go and get a Cauldron now and put it into play straight away with this and attack for 6, which is quite the clock. The fact they didn't is very weird to me. They're really valuing getting these Umezawa's Jitte stacks, where I guess they don't really know what I'm playing at the end of the day, so they're kind of a bit worried about what's going on. So this is the more cautious line. I think the better line is just to be quicker and just get the higher damage going. Right, so now it's on us. We can play this out, and we can Enlightened Tutor for Solemnity as well. If this gets a counter spell, that's good for us. Okay, so we want to Enlightened Tutor for Solemnity, and then play that and the Dark Depths and make a 2020. Sure, so we're getting a Cauldron at us, and they're probably going to equip it with a Jitte as well, and then bash for 6, and then have the counters ticking up. The Solemnity is going to be good against the Jitte as well, but they will have 5 counters on it before I get to stick a Solemnity. That's provided I can get it to resolve. We'll be playing it around a daze at least. Not the Enlightened Tutor though, so I guess I could daze this. Right, so let's get Solemnity. And then it's us. Solemnity, please. Got Force? Yeah, they got a Force. Sure, that's us done for the turn. And we don't have any plays in this turn, so we just kind of have to let them have a go. I Ponder. There is a bit of tension in this deck in terms of holding the Dark Depths back in case you have a Solemnity, or playing out in case you top deck a Thespian stage, because you can't have it both ways. So it's a little bit awkward in that respect. We are not blocking because we have no creatures. So they're going to pump their guy a few times just to get this game over and done with, I think. Sure. And a White Plume Adventure. Okay, they're like Bant, Initiative, Stoneblade. Must be quite slim on the old blue cards for the Force of Wills though. A Mother of Runes. I think we play this one out. It forces a counter of our opponent's thing, and we can play out the Phyrexian Life as well. What? You have an Umezawa's Jitte there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Like, it's not lethal this turn anyway, so I don't know why you don't just use a counter for that. That seems not ideal to me. You're burning a whole Swords to Plowshares, which is one of the few things that can actually answer a 2020. So this is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh no, it is 20 here, right? Yeah, it doesn't kill us though, because we have Phyrexian Unlife in play. So, Solitude can win us the game. That's not Solitude, Solemnity. Provided I can get through whatever they've got in hand, which could be a hard cast Force of Will. Sure. Can we draw the Solemnity this turn? We cannot. We can draw another Phyrexian Unlife, but then we are dead on the next turn. So we may as well scoop up and save our time. Alright. Our opponent's deck is probably not really going to want to see Not of This World. They're going to have not that many counter spells. Moat is going to be good against like all of their guys. And these Rest in Pieces are not going to be the worst either. So what are we looking at sideboard-wise, though? The Phyrexian Unlife combo, they are an aggro deck, so this makes sense. We don't know how deep into the initiative they're going to go, so I think we want to keep these. We didn't see anything that prompted Pithing Needles from us, but they could be running Karakas. I think having the Not of This World instead of the Pithing Needles makes sense. And the Enlightened Tutors are fine. I think the Oblivion Ring is probably not necessary here. The Moat's going to hopefully do a lot of work for us. Maybe we can trim on the Phyrexian Unlife combo slightly. And then we're just trying to find 2 Path to Exiles. Do we need the Path to Exiles if we're doing all of this stuff is the question. I don't think we do, right? Our game plan, like the Moat is going to do a similar thing. The Moat's kind of like Phyrexian Unlife on its own. But maybe we need to trim a Phyrexian Unlife for a path since we've got the Moat anyway. Yeah, I don't hate that. We could be having these just as like some options. So maybe like instead of a path, we have an Oblivion Ring just so we've got an emergency button we can find with the Enlightened Tutor. And then you could also argue similar things for a Pithing Needle, couldn't you? So here we're cutting. So at least you've got 1 in the deck. Not sure. We have a Solemnity. I think we keep this. We start with the Mother of Runes and then turn to jam a Solemnity. We could just play the City Mox Diamond start. So our Solemnity can come down super early, but I don't know if that's really going to help us at the end of the day. I think we should just start off with a Mother of Runes here and then see how the game pans out. Tropical Islands, that's not going to path our guy, it's just going to make or plow our guy, that's just going to be a Noble Hierarch. That's fine. Okay, let's play this out. Let's play this out. So playing around days, which of these is more important to us to resolve? I think the Solemnity is more important to resolve, so we're going to try and resolve this one first. We'll probably keep up our planes here. That was the bait spell. Didn't seem to bait our opponent. Now they can just prismatic ending our things, which is a real pain. Once we get 7 mana, we can cast Not of This World, but that seems unlikely. A Stoneforge, sure. A Weathered Wayfarer. Guess we try for the Solemnity first. No counterspell, interesting. They got a Cauldron as well. So we can go and fetch Dark Depths next turn, provided our opponent plays a land. Okay, a Wasteland. That is a land. What are we playing? So they're activating the Stoneforge to put in the Cauldron. So we can block 1 of this damage if we want to. It does leave us a little bit cold to a Solitude, but I don't mind that too much. This isn't when it blocks, it's when it deals damage to, so it's not actually going to deal damage because of how the way prevent damage works. So we just prevent 1 damage. Whether or not that's ever going to be relevant, we'll see, but I think it was relatively free to do that. Okay. So we can play out Dark Depths immediately into their Wasteland. Or we can activate this guy first. Go and get Dark Depths. And then we'll play this out and they will Wasteland it in response. They did not Wasteland it. That was a bold choice. I think they still get the chance to Wasteland it. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. Okay, so we have a 2020 Indestructible and we have Not of This World to protect it. So, and we have a Mother of Runes to protect it. So I think we just have them dead here. Let's see. That can gain them life, but sure you can hit us with this guy. I guess. Is there any point blocking it? They have 1 mana available. So this wants to go and get protection from black. This is an awkward play actually, because actually no, it's fine, right? We just counter this with this. Whoop. We get black. And this means they won't get any counters for the Jitte, so we get to kill them next turn, and they're tapped out. I don't think their deck can run Solitude and Force of Will, which is the reason we've done this. Okay, sure. So we got a win there. Nice, I'll take that. Back to sideboarding. Is there any changes I would like to make? So we've seen the Wastelands now, so we know the Pithing Needles are actually better than we thought they were. The Oblivion Ring seems weaker, so we'll have another Pithing Needle. Do we need Mother of Runes here? I think Mother of Runes is still good, as is the Wayfinder. I think this is fine. Do we need this Not of This World? We'd rather a Pithing Needle. No, I think we're fine like this. The fact that we assemble both of our combos was pretty tasty there. This only needs a white source to be good. I think we have to keep this. We're on the draw. We've got some turns to hit a white source. Our opponent didn't start with a thing either, so that's pretty good. Okay, we don't even need a white source now. We can just go 1, 2, 3 here with I think we play out the Tomb first though, just in case we draw a white source. We can play Solemnity next turn. Yeah, I think we're in a good spot. Might be able to get another win on the board. Okay, this Wasteland might just pull off straight away. That's fine. Our opponent won't have a turn 1 play here. Snow-covered plains. That's what we wanted to see. So we still need to go up the curve a little bit before we can cast this Solemnity. But we can cast Solemnity, and if that doesn't work, we can Dark Depths stage anyway. A Mother of Runes. Okay, so we can play a Mother of Runes around a Daze. Okay. I'm into this. Feels like it might be getting killed. Our opponent's doing something at end step. This could just be a brainstorm with fetch land though. Yeah, that looks like what it is. Yep, so they managed to fix up their hand a little bit there. They're not getting a removal spell though. Didn't have a removal for the mother at end of turn. Okay, they've got a slow removal spell, that's fine. That's a risky one to use because of all the permanents I play that are non-creature. But I guess you can't instant speed with Prismatic Ending in terms of Dark Depths. So it's kind of a down if you do, down if you don't sort of thing. So we're going to play out the Solemnity. And they might Force of Will this. If they don't, they might Prismatic Ending it. Then we can play another one and then our Dark Depths with our Not of This World backup. So we might be alright here. Yeah, this looks like a Prismatic Ending on the Solemnity. Sure, that's fine. We've got another one. Is this one good? Now we've got the Force of Will. Sure. So I don't think we play out the Dark Depths this turn. I think we wait till next turn so that we can play and make it immediately. Because our opponent could have a Wasteland or something. Let's have a look. A White Room Venturer. Don't care about that. Snow-covered Plains. Okay, so they've got Snow-covered Plains in hand. So that's another blank for them. An Ancient Tomb. We'll play this out. And I guess we make it in our opponent's upkeep. Because that dodges Wasteland that way. Let's see what they do with the initiative. They're going for the Forge, aren't they? Right, so we will copy this now. Playing around a Wasteland off the top of our opponent's deck. We have the Not of This World as well. So they need 2 removal spells. We know one of the cards in their hand is a basic plains. So well, they can have 2 basic plains. They can have a Prismatic Ending here. Let's try and get rid of this. They might use this one first and then the Prismatic Ending. Touch of the Spirit Realm. Sure. It's a little bit awkward. Our opponent has got quite a weird deck with a lot of moving pieces. I don't know how they can actually play Force of Will in their deck, to be honest. Seems they've only got 12 blue cards. Interesting. Okay. So I don't get my guy back because that's not how the game works, unfortunately. And it's our turn. What are we going to draw? Okay, so we can Phyrexian Unlife this turn. And then we can untap. Then we can get Solemnity combo in play as well. We're taking 10 next turn. So if we play this one out and we just play out the Phyrexian Unlife. We untap. This gets us a thing. Then we have to Ghost Quarter our own land to get the second white source. I think that's fine. Not fine, but we do it this way. I think it's the best option we have. So our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. One of them is a basic plane. So they can't Force of Will unless they have a blue card in hand or a Force of Will now and then draw the other one. So take 5. We take another 5. We've got a little bit of a buffer here anyway. And then we can work towards trying to get them with a 20/20. So in our upkeep we will cast this. We'll go and get Solemnity. We could have got the Moat maybe, but I think it's just best to get this. So play this one out. So we don't want to take too much damage here. Go and sacrifice this for a Plains. They got Force of Will here. We know they've only got 1 card in hand that does anything. Is it the Force? Yikes. Okay, our opponent just had the absolute perfect draw there. Yikes. 4 removal spells, double counter spell, especially in their deck that doesn't play any blue spells. Yeah, I think we can feel a little bit hard done by in that one. I think we actually win that game most of the time. Like, if they have 1 less removal spell, we win. If they have 1 less counter spell, I think we probably win here. So, yeah, it was pretty unfortunate, that one. But we are playing a bit of a silly deck, I think. But I didn't feel like a bad matchup at all, really. Anyway, let's go on to the last one and see if we can just play against a regular initiative deck, which is kind of what we were hoping to do. We're on the play, but we don't have any mana, so we need to mulligan. Yeah, I'm down for this. Let's throw back the planes that doesn't match, I guess. And we'll start off with an innocent little Weathered Wayfarer. So we can use our Path to Exile to accelerate our opponent's mana, which then gives us our Weathered Wayfarer triggers. A basic forest. This could be elves, could be Maverick, could be Green White Depths that just happen to have drawn their basic forest. They are a Green Sun Zenith deck, though, that's for sure. A Dryad Arbor. That doesn't give me any more information, but it is a second land, so things are coming up Millhouse right there. So this turn, we can crack that in a second. I think we play out a Stage and a Lotus Petal here. And then we go and get a Dark Depths in our opponent's turn. We should have got that first, actually. They need to play another land. That was a mistake. What am I doing? Should have played this out before playing out the lands. Not used to playing with Weathered Wayfarer too much. I suspect our opponent will play a land here and help us out, though. Come on. Don't make me into an idiot. Glimpse of Nature. Okay. Our Birchlaw Rangers. Sure. There's a Cradle. There's an Elvish Visionary. So I can hit the Birchlaw Rangers this turn to stop their Glimpse chain. It will give them more mana for next turn, though, is the question. Do I want to hit their thing this turn? I think we definitely want to go and get ourselves a Dark Depths here. I don't know if my opponent can even beat the... I think we're supposed to just to path this guy. I don't think our opponent can beat Glacial Chasm in the main deck. Sure. So this will be the end of their Glimpse chain. They could have been able to play 1 or 2 more cards. It also gets them less creatures for the purposes of their Glimpse. Now what it does mean is we can't do our thing on this turn, which is a little bit annoying, truth be told. Maybe we're not supposed to do that this turn. Right, so we just play our Solemnity out, and we hope our opponent doesn't kill us. Next time we might have to Glacial Chasm. I don't know. I'm not happy with the way I played this game at all. We should have done the Weathered Wayfarer earlier. Another Glimpse chain. Okay. We've got no real actions this turn, so we may as well yield to our opponent's turn and hope for the best. Well, I have to imagine we're dead this turn. We can go and get the other half of our Solemnity combo. I think the Glacial Chasm is just better. Now, it does mean it's going to be very difficult for us to win the game. Our opponent's probably just going to have to deck out at that point. I don't think they have any answers for a main deck Glacial Chasm that never gets counters on. They can blow up the Solemnity, I guess, as time goes by, because they will probably have a Reclamation Sage somewhere in their deck, but not always. Okay, a second Cradle. It can do a whole lot of damage to us now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. We've got 8. I don't think they can kill us yet. Need to get some more creatures in play. That shouldn't... Okay, they're just playing this guy out now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is only 18 damage. Okay. It's just a free thing because they can untap their Dryad Arbor. So we're now in a situation where we have to get the Glacial Chasm, I think. Okay. These guys are still summoning 6, so this isn't going to change the amount of damage they do. It's just going to give them a better board for next turn. They might have a second Crater Hoof, and maybe they can keep going and get another one into play. This doesn't change the clock this turn. They're definitely going to mill out before us if that's how this game ends up coming to fruition. I don't think our opponent will be very happy about that. Our opponent does only have 3 lands, though, so we will need to get rid of one of our lands in order to do that, in order to tutor with our Weathered Wayfarer, which is a bit of a pickle. Let's just get in for the 11 here. Sure. So if I tutor in my upkeep for Phyrexian Unlife, I can't cast Phyrexian Unlife, and our opponent has got 3 lands, so I can't actually activate this. I think we just have to naturally draw the Chasm here. Or naturally draw the Phyrexian Unlife, I guess. It's fine too. And we can make a 20/20 as well, since we're here. So our opponent has 1 turn to get rid of our Phyrexian Unlife. Somehow that seems to have worked out for us. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to win this game. Our opponent is a Green Sun Zenith deck. They might have a thing that can blow up the Phyrexian Unlife or the Solemnity. They've just played the Besagi from their hand. Did they mean to cast that? They must have mean to have cast that. That must be a misclick. They might not even have anything to shoot it for with the Green Sun Zenith. They might just have the Besagi as things to have in their deck now, so their actual creature base is more streamlined, which would make sense to me. Yeah, I think that's a horrible misclick there. Our opponent can still draw a bunch of cards if they have another Glimpse, and maybe find another Besagi. Once upon a time. So this could dig them into the other Besagi. I think they might have 2 in their deck. A Nettle Sentinel is not a Besagi. A Glimpse, okay. So here's me holding on through the power of misclicks. We're 100% dead if they find a way of removing our Phyrexian Unlife. Now they could make a mistake and just get rid of our Solemnity. Do they have the Reclamation Sage here? It is an elf, so it makes sense to have in the deck without diluting your engine too much. Because if they get rid of the Solemnity, all this damage puts me to 0, and then from that point onwards, the Phyrexian Unlife will kick in, so we will get another turn. So they need to find an answer and know which way to point it. We'll see how this works. Okay, just an Elvish Visionary. They can bounce the Elvish Visionary a fair few times, but it's on them to do this. I'm not playing this silly deck, so I'm allowed to sit here and take joy in my opponent's misclick, perhaps. So they're just casting and recasting the Visionary, untapping Nettle Sentinel, so it's not costing them much mana each time, and keep bouncing with the... I think they got 1 more Visionary, 1 more Wirewood activation. Yep, another Visionary. So their Nettle Sentinels are untapping now, so they pretty much have all their spells being free at this point, as long as they're like 1 or 2. Well, if they're 1 mana, they net mana. If they're 2 mana, they're about the same, because they get to tap the guy that comes in. And they have a Visionary. So our opponent could very well draw their entire deck this turn. Okay, they've given up, or they've run out of things to do. Okay, so we got a free one there. I don't feel great about it, to be honest. I feel a bit miserable, to be honest. I win the game that way, but sometimes you just got to take it, right? So what is going to be good here? Removal spells to slow our opponent down a turn is going to be fine. And then we just want to stick these moats. Pithing Needles can name Weathered Symbiote, so I don't hate those. These pass. So this is the sort of cards we're looking at. The Immortality combo is going to be good here, I think. The Weathered Wayfarer may be less good. The Mother of Runes is probably going to be the worst here, right? Because Mother of Runes just, they don't really have much to protect. They're going to be hitting our hand more than anything. We have these Pithing Needles that can also name Karakas if our opponent does have one of those. Mindbreak Trap has text here, but I don't think it's worth playing. And we just keep our engine together and submit. We have no white mana, but if we draw any white mana, this hand is good. I think on the draw we'll keep this. Any white mana, please. There's a lot of white mana in the deck. There's what, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So more than 1 in 3 chance of drawing a white mana source. That's not a white mana source though, is it? So we'll play this out. So our opponent has the ability to go off this turn, but it's unlikely. Next turn is looking like a very easy time to go off for them though. They can probably... Okay, maybe they are going off this turn. So they get to play the Elvish Visionary here, and then they tap all 3 of their guys for 3 mana. And then they can play another thing, and then the Nettle Sentinel untaps. If they can play another thing, then they can keep going. Weathered Symbiote. Okay, this will let them bounce their Visionary. Need to draw a white source deck. It might not even be quick enough if we draw a white source here. And if that's the case, I don't necessarily want to show off my Glacial Chasm tech. So there's a Visionary, and they got 1 more mana. Okay, it's Weathered Symbiote, so this isn't going to be able to activate for the Heritage Druid. Okay, so they've untapped the Heritage Druid and bounced. Right, sure. Pretty good turn 2 from our opponent so far. Drawn a lot of cards. It doesn't actually give you indication how many times each one's been used, so you have to keep track. So we're going to take 2 from the Nettle Sentinel this turn, I think. They should be just shaving a little bit of damage off us, yeah. Especially when we've got 2 in play as well. Like, natural order next turn will kill us. So we draw, is it a white source? It's not a white source. So we have an option of just making Glacial Chasm and trying to sit behind it, but we will die doing that. But we could do that for a few turns and then Thespian stage. Yikes, this is bad. We're almost certainly losing this game. We needed a white source. So next turn we can play out City of Traitors or Tomb, and then we can play out the Thespian stage. Basically, we want to play the Solemnity and then Thespian stage copy the Glacial Chasm. And then I don't know if our opponent will be able to beat that. I don't think they have a Wasteland in their deck because they're not running Reclaimer or anything. They're just... Well, I can just yield through this turn because this might be quite a long game. So we play out the Tomb first this turn because that was the one that gives us the mana to cast the Solemnity the turn after. And then the slow, slow march to trying to beat our opponent begins. So... Looking at our opponent's resources right now, I have to imagine they would be able to kill us if we didn't have this Glacial Chasm. So there is a way to play the game sometimes, but you've got to do it. If we draw a white source next turn, then we'll play the white source out first and play the Weathered Wayfarer, because then we can use that to get some more resources down the line if we need to. So I think what our opponent is going to do is play a big enough board that they can kill us as soon as this drops. Now hopefully we'll never drop the chasm until we're going to win the game. Alright, we did not draw a white source, so we'll play this out. And then pass the turn. So next turn we take 4. The turn after we take 6. And then the turn after that we have to copy it. So we really need a white source on the next turn. We've got like 20 white sources in 50 cards. And we haven't hit one yet. So statistically speaking, we should be okay. And as long as our opponent can't actually beat a Glacial Chasm lock, then I think we're okay. Now they might have an Endurance which can block our Marit Lage for a turn. So that's something we'll have to think about as well. About when we choose to try and hit them with a 2020. But we can also like insulate ourselves up with moats and things like that as well. It's going to be a weird, long, grindy game, I think. Obviously, if we just never hit a white source, then the game's over anyway. Visionary. Gonna play an Allosaurus Shepherd, just because that way they're always threatening lethal then. More cards. Do like the off deck. It's a good fun time for all, I think. I much prefer this build of elves to the sort of the new mid-rangey one. Alright, so Nettle Sentinel. So this will be the second Nettle Sentinel, so basically everything they play they can cast for the most part. They haven't even tapped their Cradle yet, so they got a whole bunch of mana here. Whether or not they have an answer, the chasm remains to be seen though. 5. Another Visionary. Untapping the Nettle Sentinels. Drawing a card. And then they'll tap the 2 Nettle Sentinels and the Visionary for 3 mana. Play an elf, untap them. Here we go. I have to imagine my opponent has a Reclamation Sage as well, so they're going to get that so that if I do play the Solemnity, they can just blast it straight away. They might just have, well, at this point they probably do have a Green Sun Zenith in hand ready for when that happens. Okay, so now they're glimpsing, and they should be able to play out their whole deck here if they want to, or at least enough of it to so they have a Besage, which can hit our Glacial Chasm as well, which is probably what they're digging for if they go for Glacial Chasm into hardcast Crater Hoof, because the Cradle taps for all the mana in the world right now. We just need to yield through this turn, don't we? So we got nothing going on. So Pithing Needle on Besage, who endures, is going to be a good one in the third game if we get that far. Opponent's made another elf. Now the green sun's anything for 1, which could be another Nettle Sentinel or another Wirewood. Okay, it's another Wirewood, so they can rebuy the Visionary. And here comes a Visionary and some cards. A Thoughtseize into our hands is going to take the Solemnity, which is certainly one of the cards we were hoping to ride. They took the Weathered Wayfarer. Interesting. Maybe they already have an answer to the Solemnity in hand. Alright, so our opponent has passed the turn, and it's back to us. We're going to pay 4 life, and I'm going to draw something useless. A Pithing Needle. Okay, this is a good one. So we want to play out this Thespian stage. Play this out. And we name Besage, who endures. And then next turn we're taking 6, so we need to hit a white source on our next turn, which feels like something I've been saying for a while, but there we go. Okay, our opponent's doing some more bouncing stuff just so they can have more draw steps on their turn. Our opponent is also taking up a lot more of the clock than I am, because they're doing something and I'm just sat here behind this Glacial Chasm like a bit of a clown. Right, we'll yield for his turn, see what our opponent does. Yes, we take 6, going to 6 next turn. Then we have to copy the Thespian stage the turn after, so we need a white source this turn to put the Solemnity down. Okay, so we've got the Visionaries coming back again, drawing them some cards. I have to imagine they can win the game. Alright, so they got a Glimpse, so they're going to be getting through the rest of their deck here. So they might need a Reclamation Sage and a Besage here to win this game. Unless they've got some weird thing that I'm not familiar with. I don't think there's any damage can't be prevented. A single Questing Beast would be pretty good here. I suspect there is not a Questing Beast in our opponent's deck though. That card is not for elves. Maybe Nick Fit and Legacy, but that's about it. Alright, they're playing some more elves, got Dryad Arbor. Anything else? Natural Order. Sure. Is this going to be like Terastodon or something? Crater Hoof Behemoth. Sure. So all their guys are huge. They can't actually damage us though. Assassin's Trophy. That'll do it. Okay, so they have an Assassin's Trophy as well. That's good to know about. So, going into the last game, are there any changes I feel we need to make? The Assassin's Trophy won't hit our 2020, so you don't have to worry about that. The Mindbreak Trap does have text here, but I don't think it's worth doing. I think we can just turtle up behind all of our things and try and just get a 2020 quickly. I'll submit and hope we're good on the draw. On the play, sorry. I don't like this hand, it's just lands, so we should mulligan it. Yeah, this hand seems good. I think we can keep this. And what we're getting rid of here, probably the Path to Exile, I think. So I think we're making turn 1 Solemnity, turn 2 Phyrexian Unlife. The reason we do it that order is in case we draw the Dark Dance. Okay, so play this one out. Play this one out. Get rid of this. Cast this. So next turn, we might be playing out the Weathered Wayfarer anyway. But we'll see what happens. We're still right to play this one out first. We could have always just played the Mox Diamond and the Weathered Wayfarer, and then next turn we activate it, but then we would need another white source as well. So I think this is still the best approach. Okay, our opponent has made a 1-mana 2/2. A City of Traitors. Does that change anything here? I don't think so. Do I think my opponent can kill me next turn, or should I just play out this Weathered Wayfarer? We play out the Weathered Wayfarer, do we play out the Phyrexian Life? I think we have to play out the Weathered Wayfarer. We need to try and win the game. We do not play our City of Traitors. We do not need the mana yet. Sure. I would very much like to draw a white source. I guess I can always Weathered Wayfarer for a white source, and then play my Phyrexian Unlife, which means we're going to need another turn before we can make a 2020. Okay, so we've got Wirewood Symbiote coming in with 1 mana floating, so they could play a Heritage Druid and tap for 3 here. No, they're just going to attack. So they're going to attack us for 2. That's fine. We can't do much about that. That's our turn. Another Weathered Wayfarer. So I think we just get a 2020 here, right? Can our opponent kill us next turn through a 2020? That is the question. I don't know. Let's just play a 2020. It's either good enough or it isn't, right? And it does soak up quite a lot of trample damage. Opponent has to have a big turn. So the Phyrexian Life is probably the safer play there. But they might just be able to blow it up because we've seen that they have cards in their hand that can just blow it up. and this way it gives us a chance of winning the game and puts the onus on our opponent. So I think it's, against a deck like Elves that accrues so many resources with each turn that goes by, I think it's best to play the proactive line and say, can you beat this at this point? If they don't have any mana Elves in play, so, and they don't have one because they would have cast it last turn with the 1 green mana they had floating. So I think we're in an okay spot. Are we going to get a win? My opponent's thinking for a while. They can certainly Green Sun Zenith for stuff. But I don't know if they even have an endurance to Green Sun Zenith 4, because the way the Elf deck tries to beat those decks is either ley lines out the board or just being fast. I don't think running the endurances is great, especially since they're very easy to Thoughtseize away, and they're not going to really want them. We didn't see them in the previous game. Oh, we got the win. Excellent. All right, let's have a look at the deck. So, we went 2 and 3 with this deck, and I feel we were slightly unlucky against the Bant Initiative Stoneblade deck, where they had the 4 removal spell double Force of Will hand, and if they have 1 less of any of those spells, we win the game. So I think we're a little bit hard done by on that one. So maybe we could have even squeaked to 3-2, but I would say that this deck is not good. It's not a good deck. It's quite a fun, silly one. It has some problems, like we could have had some more tutor targets for lands, but Weathered Wayfarer isn't always a reliable way of tutoring for lands. There was one game where we couldn't tutor for land because our opponent had the same number of lands as us, and so we just couldn't do anything with that, which is unfortunate. The way you could address that is maybe having the lands that sack as well, so they draw a card and sack, so you can put them in your library, so you can just get rid of those to reduce the number of lands in play and let your Wayfarer do some work. That would be quite good. A Paducah Bog in the main deck might be worth thinking about as well for the Weathered Wayfarer. But again, it's because it's tutoring it into your hand, it is quite slow. So maybe that's just not good enough. The general core of the deck felt fine. Like, we've got wins off of both halves of the deck. So the 2020 did some work, and we also just managed to get people to scoop to the Phyrexian Unlife combo, which I think is fine. I think with Initiative being so good at the moment, and most of these lists not having answers to enchantments, means that this is actually kind of viable in a weird way. I wasn't expecting it to be. We didn't get to play against just a raw Initiative deck. We just had to reach down into the weird Bant one, which obviously had counter spells. But if they didn't have counter spells, I don't think they would be able to beat us if they were like sort of green-white Initiative or whatever instead, with a similar hand. But those, let's say they had Initiative creatures instead of the Force of Wills, I think we win that game because we just locked them under this. So that was pretty cool. I quite like a lot of the synergies in this deck. The Enlightened Tutor makes sense. Sometimes it's quite difficult to double spell with white spells in this deck, I will say. So that's something that you could maybe look at if you wanted to go a bit further with this. The other option of this deck is to add another color, which I think is a little bit risky considering, you know, the mana base is a little bit high getting pits, but you could just have rainbow lands and you could have cards that are going to be drawing you more. So there's like a 2 and a green card from one of the Theros sets that looks at the top 6 cards of your library, and I think gives you 3 enchantments. So you could have that and maybe have some more enchantment stuff going on, so you can dig into your pieces a bit more. One of the issues as well is that Dark Depths, we only have the Weathered Wayfarers to find it, so maybe we should be looking at having a couple of Expedition map in there as well. Finding the Solemnity was the main thing our deck did because we had these 3 Enlightened Tutors as well, but the Solemnity was combo with 2 different things in our deck. It's a shame we didn't get to Moat someone. That's a card that is a good fun one that people have forgotten about and slept on because no one can afford it in paper. But occasionally it does some real work, and I think against the Initiative decks it can be a real house. And I've got some other decks with Moat in them, so don't worry, you're going to see it on my channel in a game at some point, I'm sure. But this deck was okay. I was expecting to go 1-4 and we went 2-3, and we nearly went 3-2. So it exceeded my expectations. I think because of where the format is right now, everything is kind of aggressive decks. So just having a thing that just blunts aggro decks is a lot more effective than it has been for a long time. Now, we saw the flip side of that with a Doomsday matchup where they just ignore you and kill you and it doesn't matter what you do. And then they really get the rub-ins when they predict the card you just Enlightened Tutor off the top of your library. But that matchup was never going to be one we could win. So I don't mind losing that one. Like Storm, maybe we can win with the Mindbreak Traps, but there's not really an easy fix for the Doomsday matchup. Maybe Spirit of the Labyrinth can help, but even so, it's still not great. As for the sideboard, yeah, I think it was fine. I don't think the deck is good enough, but I think you could probably tweak it to make it a bit more playable. Maybe the Phyrexian Life Solemnity plan isn't really worth pairing with an entire Dark Depths stage package. So maybe you could be looking at just having a Solemnity Phyrexian Unlife deck that has Dark Depths in it as a thing, but, you know, like 1 or 2 copies sort of thing, rather than trying to dedicate your deck to it and just has a lot more other stuff going on. Because I think this combo is actually good right now, which is weird because it's usually not good enough. And especially with Prismatic Ending in the format, you wouldn't expect it to be good. But the principal aggro decks struggle to remove it in terms of Delver and Initiative. Neither of them can reliably remove these things at the moment until, you know, things change. All right, I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a real fun one for me and better than expected, so I can't complain. If you enjoy watching the nonsense I play, please like and subscribe. Subscribes really help me. I need to get my subscribers up to get monetized, blah, blah, blah. Please do that. Tell people you know who like Legacy to watch my stuff. It all helps. All right. Thank you very much for watching this league with Mono White Dark Depths. Goodbye.